Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome back to Wall Street Silver. Our guest today is my good friend, the professor of chemistry at Cornell University, Dave Collum. Welcome back, sir.
Howdy, sir. Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's a huge pleasure having you back. We had you on about 4 months ago, and we were talking everything from the BRICS nations to gold, and we had a lot of
Yeah.
fun discussions. And you said 4 months ago, if you were in another country, you wouldn't trust the United States right now because of everything they weaponized, and everything they are going to continue to weaponize. Now, BRICS nations, about a few weeks ago, are adding about six more countries to their list. Has the U.S. just shot themselves in the foot, Dave, with weaponizing the U.S. dollar? And where do you see this going from here?
Well, I actually don't know if the U.S. did it or if it was time, right? It
Hmm.
could be that this was going to happen within the error bar of it happening now. It could be it was just the time for this event was ripe. To me, the BRICS, this rapidly expanding BRICS, strikes me as a loose coalition of people of countries that I don't think is going to become a strong coalition. I think really what it is it's a very loud vote saying that the U.S. sucks,
Right.
and so I think it is about de-dollarization. I still don't know why you need a reserve currency. I don't see why you can't just let computers, trade currencies and buy
Right.
anything in any currency. And if I want to buy oil in Zimbabwe dollars, I can flip, microsecond. I can
Right.
I can have whatever currency I want to buy the oil, and I can sell it. I can buy it in Zimbabwe dollars. They can convert it to whatever they want. And so I've never
Absolutely.
understood this reserve currency, this petrodollar model.
Yeah.
Besides them accepting our debt relentlessly, I get that,
Yeah.
but that's different. That's different.
Yeah, I think the whole thing is they just want to prop up the US dollar, using the US petrodollar because that's the only thing backing the whole system, in my opinion, because if they do let any country take down the US petrodollar, the only way they would do it is because it's not backed by anything, the actual US dollar. Um, that's what I'm thinking. What do you think there, Dave?
Well, again, the system to me ought to be backed by 100 different currencies. Just right. I just don't get it.
Right.
I don't really know why you need it backed by any one currency. I am
Yeah,
been
yeah.
sold on the idea that there has to be a reserve currency. The olden days reserve currency in part was because you had to have sovereigns with kings' faces stamped on them and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they became like, the name dollar comes from the thaler from 15th century Czechoslovakia or something,
Interesting.
where the guy mined a fuck ton of silver out of the ground, and that became, by virtue of the liquidity it provided,
Right.
admittedly probably with some inflation involved there, a very popular thing to use for trade. So,
Yeah.
but we with modern day computers, I just don't see why you need a reserve currency
Yeah,
at
absolutely.
all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was reading this week too, UK house prices experienced its largest fall in 14 years recently. And obviously we're seeing the impact of interest rate increases. They're building up fast. Will we inevitably see that housing bubble start popping in Canada and the US sooner than later, Dave?
Well, let me pretend like I know the answer to that question and say definitely yes. Basically, the interest rates have caused the price of owning the same house to double.
Mm,
And since people don't have twice as much money, then it means the prices of houses have to come down. Right now, we're in this goofy situation where the sellers don't want to sell for a lower price. The buyers don't want to buy at the high price because they can't
right.
afford it. And so there's a bit of a stalemate. So there's a stickiness. This is the lull before the storm. But I watched a guy the other day talk about about how there is no problem in the housing market. Everyone has to live somewhere. And I go, well, tell that to everyone when BlackRock and Barry Sternlicht and these guys start liquidating their humongous tranches of single family houses because owning them on minuscule interest rate based leverage is no longer a profitable business. And then all the guys who bought Airbnbs, using leverage to because owning houses you couldn't lose, and they'd rent it. And now the Airbnb market's falling apart. So
Yeah.
when those two inventories show up, the price of housing seems like it's got to come down. So to me, it's like the movie Pearl Harbor, where Red sticks his head up after a torpedo flopped across the runway and said, "Hey guys, it's a dud." About a second later, Red had his ass blown off. So
Yeah, no, it seems like that. There's so much economic uncertainty in the market. How critical is it to own some gold and silver right now, Dave, with a push towards central bank digital currencies and what we're seeing with the Federal Reserve and a lot of other places like Amazon? Did you see what's happening with Amazon, Dave? You
no,
you
no.
can scan your hand, and they're going to bring this to all their Whole Foods stores that they own, and you can just scan your hand and pay with it just digitally.
Yeah, that so excites me. Um, that the computer world is almost by definition going to usher in its own kind of digital authoritarianism. I don't think it's avoidable. If you go to the store, you pay with a credit card, it says yes or no. If you go
Yeah,
to airport security and they check your name and the computer says let them through or not. So everything's this binary decision. And there's going to be no humans who can override the system. And so as we increasingly turn to computers to give us answers to all life's questions, we're
yeah,
increasingly going to be at the mercy of computers to tell us how to live our lives.
yeah,
So I think it's awful. I mean, I think Chat GPT, is altering a lot of stuff, including it's increasing the amount of garbage being pumped into the world.
yeah.
And I don't want to be reading an article not knowing if someone wrote it and did a fact check or just pushed out Chat GPT garble.
Yeah, and what happens when an AI generated, or next 2, 3 years? What happens if it gets so advanced where you can change elections just by putting out
Well,
AI
I
at
think
that
they've
point?
already proved you can.
Yeah, 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 that's right. And it's pretty crazy. Are you currently stacking gold or silver? What are you doing right now, Dave?
Well, my my stash of gold and silver got pretty big by 1999, so I don't have to do a lot of stacking. Um, I bought gold up to 457 an ounce along with silver, and then I was thrilled at 1900. Then I went down to 1200. Seemed to stabilize. I bought a bunch more. I haven't bought any gold in a long time,
Nice.
because it's been a while since I actually did the math. I'm probably 30% gold,
Wow. In your portfolio, 30%?
my net worth.
Wow. Oh, your whole net worth. Okay, that's pretty smart. And what do you see next? I was watching a video recently on TikTok, and they were talking about the Great Depression versus the Silent Depression, and people are saying that we're currently in the Silent Depression. Do you think that we're currently in a Silent Depression, Dave, or like people are just not talking about how bad it is with wages and everything costing more?
Well, I'm loath to accept the word depression because it's got a lot of potential meaning to it, but I think there are a lot of people who are at the end of their rope,
Right.
and so I think I could easily imagine some serious upheaval in the next couple of years where people just, when you watch someone on TikTok saying, I don't know how I'm going to eat,
Yeah,
right?
I've
And
seen it.
these are people who are not the fringe of society. These are people who were successfully hanging on to their lives, and now they're failing to hang on to their lives. And so, and this is the evils of inflation. They can lie all they want about the CPI, and
Yeah.
you go to the store, everyone's inflation is different, right? If 2% of my budget is food, then food's not a big contributor. If 20% of my budget is food, then it's a big contributor. So if you have a rent, inflation's big, and if you own a house, it's less so, even though your taxes are going up. So we all have our own inflation, but most of the people at the bottom of the food chain, their inflation has been horrific.
Yeah.
And at some point, they're going to lose their shit. And I don't know what that means in the modern era. I just don't know what that means, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen.
American Spring,
Yeah, instead of the Arab Spring.
right?
Absolutely. I've seen a lot of videos like what you were saying on social media just this past couple of weeks of a lot of moms and a lot of people in general just crying and basically breaking down, talking about how can they afford it, and how are they supposed to survive with inflation? So it's yeah, like what you said, it's going to hit a boiling point at some point. What do you think Powell's going to do next? Keep on raising rates till something breaks in the market, or have they lost control completely?
I've been in the minority on Powell for a while. I think that when he decided it was time to hike rates, and he repeatedly used the word pain.
Mm-hmm.
One thing we have not experienced yet, except that these low levels of inflationary effect, is pain. And
Right.
as the average person says, okay, we're going to go from hiking rates to pain to dropping rates, right? That's sort of their working model. And they seem to be enthusiastically supporting that model, except they seem to not want to accept the fact that there's that pain part. And they think we're just going to go from hiking rates to dropping rates, and we'll just skip the uncomfortable part of pain.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think so. I think Powell is not going to drop the rates until the economy's in pain. And I think, and this is what people are underestimating, I think Powell has to crack the speculation.
Mm-hmm.
This is the thing that I think is dominating his thinking more than most people think. I think he has got to crack the markets. Once they crack, they're going to go wherever the hell they want to go. So, right, it's an avalanche. Once that thing starts rolling, it's no longer. You can throw a stick of dynamite at the top and get it started, but you don't. Once it starts, it's on its own.
Yeah,
So
and and you know the debt, the U.S. debt is 32 trillion and rising, and people are saying the debt to service that 32 trillion within the next 5 to 6 years, as an estimate, is going to be north of $2 trillion. So eventually, in the next, these are just estimates. In the next 10 years, it'll get to about $53 trillion in debt, even with debt servicing every single year. How unsustainable is this? Is just this a road to like in ancient Rome, where they just kept going off until hyperinflation? And is that where the US is inevitably heading, or will they ultimately have it control? And what do you think they'll do, Dave?
well, one thing we know is they don't get to not go somewhere.
Right.
So you don't get to say, okay, I want to get off this ride now. It's not fun anymore. And so we will go through the valley of death. I don't know what's going to look like in the bottom, but there could be inflationary based defaults. There could be deflationary based defaults.
Mm.
They could do weird creative stuff and find some way to screw everybody else on the planet. And there could be a war that hides the, when at the end of World War II, what a lot of people don't know is, besides everything being in wreckage, something like half the global debt had been vaporized.
How?
And I think that means that when you're sitting there in a pile of rubble that used to be your house, you are not asking where are your bonds.
Right.
Right, you're not asking where's your bank account. You're just trying to live,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so it gets to erase a lot of evil. And so we could end up in World War III, which won't necessarily be nuclear, won't necessarily be involve normal weapons. It won't. I just don't know. I just think that the more unstable a system becomes, the more top heavy it becomes, which is what you just described, the more shock sensitive it becomes. So the tiniest little vibration can be the thing that, the butterfly flapping its wings. Something's going to start this rolling. It could be a default in some faraway country that just gets, someone was leveraged there and they start liquidating. And next thing you know, you got a
Yeah.
bank run everywhere.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. And who's to say we're not currently in a World War III? Like you look at the past, even since after World War II, Iraq, Libya, every place
Right.
in South America, what's happening now in Ukraine. Basically everything happened after 2001. It feels like an everlasting war. It feels like everyone has been in war for the past 20, 30 years.
Well, we not only weaponized our military, which sounds like redundancy, but we did, and so we bombed the shit out of people. When was the last time a country attacked us? The answer, I don't
Never.
know. You probably have to go back to the end of the 19th century. Even those are questionable, and you can say Pearl Harbor. Well, we kind of egged them into doing it. So, but we've also weaponized the government against the people.
Yeah.
And I think the left doesn't see it yet, because right now the weaponization appears to be against the right. But
Hmm.
I guarantee you that that's a double-edged sword, and it will come flying back. And if the Republicans get a hold, the vengeance could be inappropriately large.
Oh yeah, for everything that's happened in the past 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure whatever happens in 2024.
We put two guys from the Proud Boys away for some total of 28 years. They didn't do anything. If you
Why?
look at their crimes, they look like crimes high school kids commit.
Why though?
Mischief, you know. Well, I don't know why. If I were trying to destroy the United States, I'd say, well, that works.
Nah, that's crazy. Wow.
And I don't trust the guys at the top to not be trying to destroy the United States, because they're clearly beholden to China and Russia and various places.
Oh
I
yeah.
I I can't wrap my brain around why people within the United States seem to be acting in ways that are destructive to the United States, or not just differences of opinion. And you say, well, Biden accepted 50 million or something from China and who knows where else, certainly Ukraine.
Hmm.
Um, what would ever make you think he's acting in our best interest?
Oh,
And
not
they've
at
got him
all.
totally blackmailed. So,
Like I seen a video of Trump this week, and he was saying he said it perfectly. He's like, I genuinely think they hate our country. He's like, I genuinely think
I
that
think
these
he's
people.
right.
He's I genuinely think these people hate our country. And I just seen an article last week how they're auctioning off parts of the wall that he put up, just auctioning it off, and
Well,
uh,
they're auctioning. They're also selling all the parts that were not yet put up,
ah,
that no one has a reason for. They're selling them for basically melt weight, for melt value, and we spent a fortune on that stuff. And so, now that everything's wrong, and Trump could be a player in this plot that we don't understand, right? But
right.
what he says, what Kennedy says, what Ramaswamy says, they all make sense. So whether or not they're playing their roles, I don't know. But right now, I gotta support the guys whose roles appear to match mine.
Yeah, you never know who yeah, when it could be both sides of the table that they could own, even if your guy does appear to say all the right things that you want to hear. Maybe that's you never know who's controlled these
Well,
days.
Ramaswamy is a particularly good case, because
Yeah.
he seems so produced. He seems like as authentic as a boy band or something, right? It seems like he's got the right answer for every question. Which you say, well, isn't that good? You go,
Hmm.
well, so you're sitting in a bar and you're 60 years old and you're fat, and some 28-year-old hot blonde chick sits down next to you and starts hitting on you. You really ought to be saying, there's a subplot here I'm missing,
Yeah.
right? Because she's not hitting on you because she loves fat guys, and so there is a subplot here. Maybe I don't know. So Ramaswamy seems almost too good to me.
Yeah,
I'll
with the
vote for him if it comes to that, but
yeah, one saving grace I had for Trump when people always say like he could be bought opposition is one time he just said you can't pay me. I'm like if you can't buy off a billionaire. If he's already a multi-billionaire and he's doing this if it's from straight from his heart, how can you buy him off? But these other people like Ramos, like the person you were just mentioned, you don't know what their financials are like. They can 100% be bought off. So that's
he's actually Ramaswamy is pretty wealthy.
oh, is
Um,
he?
Trump, yeah, oh yeah, he's got a bunch of
Interesting.
startups in Silicon Valley that
Interesting.
paid him
Okay,
well.
I didn't know that.
Um, but I don't think he's billionaire, but he's in good shape. Trump seems to have weaponized narcissism. This is an idea I've been working on, where Trump's narcissism was shallow when he started running. He just wanted Trump on everything, right? So it seemed like he's predictably shallow. I think he realized over time that to achieve his narcissistic goals, he had to actually not only get his name plastered everywhere, he had to be great.
Right.
And so I think he decided, to be great, you've got to do great things. You've got to be a great president. What does
Absolutely.
that require? So I actually think Trump is trying to get it right, because he wants to be in the pantheon of spectacular presidents. Now, he will, if he gets there, not see hide nor hair of Biden, who is, in my opinion, the worst president in the history of the presidency.
Yeah.
And it's not just because he's demented, perv, child molesting, daughter molesting, pathological, compulsive liar with an IQ of about 90. And it's because the crap he's doing. He just everything he does seems to be destructive to the United States.
Yeah.
So I'm jaded at this point. If he jumped off a cliff, I'd be partying.
Well, you know what? It's such a huge pleasure having you on, Dave, coming to talk to Wall Street Silver and everyone, because it's great having you on. And hopefully, as the market develops in the next 2-3 months, we'd really love to have you back on.
Okay, send me a link. I love it. I enjoy you guys. And are you now the solo podcaster for Wall Street Silver?
I have Peter St. Ange does some YouTube clips every day too. He releases them.
Peter is phenomenal.
Yeah, he's
you say
great.
Hi to you say hi to. I mean, I chat with Peter in DMs and stuff, but Peter St. Ange, if you're on Twitter and you're not following his ass, you have missed a very important message.
Yeah, and he does release clips every day. They're not too long clips. We do usually 15-20 minute interview like this one, but he does like sometimes 4-minute, 5-minute, sometimes 3-minute clips, but they're really quality ones. And he does them every day.
Super quality.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, he's the guy I want to have a beer with. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't drink beer.
No. Oh, Dave, it's great having you on. Again, we'd love to have you back on in the future. Hopefully next 2-3 months, I'll bring you back.
Okay. Send me a link when this is up.
Awesome. Talk to you soon.